All right, YouTube family, everybody out there, we'll make an introduction for the new little hot rod that we're getting ready to start building. Gunny wants to make his appearance in the video as usual, but we got ourselves a 1992 Fox body. I think is the year of this thing, but picked it up and kind of got started on it about a month and a half ago. But I figured it's far enough along that I'll make a little introduction to it. So as of right now, we're gonna call this Y 2.0. And I'll kind of go over some specifics of what's going on. As you can see, it has the 4G63 4-cylinder that I tend to use in pretty much everything nowadays. This one is a little different. We've got GT45 turbo, probably to be replaced with an 80mm, but it's the same footprint, so everything will work. GT35 primary turbo, so yes, this is compound turbo. I've got Kevin Dewar has had good experience with this, and honestly, I'm just trying to get rid of any use of nitrous or anything for spool, and we'll see how it goes. Nothing else, I can yank the small turbo off and just make a little pipe, mid pipe for the larger turbo. But all I have left to do on the exhaust now is a down pipe, and so I'm gonna run over and grab some stuff for that. But the reason I'm making this video today is I've gotten it far enough along that I thought it'd be good for an introduction. This is gonna be a 2-liter long rod motor. Pretty much just use the Kelford cams in it, Vader rods, and Wiseco extreme duty pistons, and we'll see how these little wastegates do. I've never used these before, but this one is only going to be basically a 15 psi just for the primary, and then the other one is going to be controlled, and I can change that wastegate out to a larger wastegate if I need to. But pretty much I've got everything done on the piping that I feel like I'm going to blow it apart, take it over to sandblast it, and then coat it. I wanted to make sure I had the intake stuff done that is off of the hot intake side, not the cold intake side, the one coming from the turbo to the intercooler. So the way this is working is it's coming off of the primary. So if you can look at the way the whole routing of this is for a compound, if you guys are not familiar with a compound turbo, exhaust goes through the header into the small turbo, out of the small turbo, into the large turbo to spool it. In addition, you have the wastegate plumbed in and wasting into there. So all exhaust gases from the header and the small turbo are going into this pipe, which is a 3-inch pipe. And then from there, it spools this turbo, lights off the exhaust of this turbo, which in addition lights off the intake of this turbo. All the ultimate boost will be controlled by this wastegate right here. This one is just going to be spring pressure 15 psi. This one is going to be maybe 20 psi up there. I'm not sure on that yet. Wherever the efficiency range works well. This one is going to be gated. It'll be basically controlled with electronic boost controller to probably 50-60 pounds. And then so the cold pipe then comes in, air comes into this turbo here. Let's go around. So the air comes in through this turbo and exits out of this turbo, goes down, the pipe runs along the frame rail, makes a U-bend right back into the inlet of the small turbo. And then the inlet of the small turbo compresses all of that, and this is where I didn't know whether it was going to work, but I was told that it does. This goes into a 2-inch exit, a 2.5-inch exit, I'm sorry, and then that goes into my 3-inch. Blow-off valve is right there to protect from surge. I figured I'd put it as close to this turbo as possible. And then we move on into the inside of the car where things kind of get interesting. Move in here. I've just finished up building these pipes. So then the hot cold pipe still comes through here, runs along there. I'll build some brackets to hold it up and hold it steady. Then it goes to this monstrosity. Woo, look at that thing. That is a Reichert 4,000 horsepower intercooler. It is a big one. The pictures that I saw, I thought these were 3/4 inch. And then I got there and I realized these are dash 16, and this thing is monstrous. But you know what? This car is gonna be light anyway. We'll throw it in there. I'll never have to worry about coolant temps. So we come around here, back to the intercooler piping. We come around to here, goes into there, comes out. I ordered the fitting. I had to put a different V-band on it, so I'll have to weld another V-band onto there. And then it'll go into there. And then it'll go right up in through the firewall, right back up into the intake. So this is where all that compressed boost, all 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds, who knows what it's gonna end up being, goes into this intake manifold right here. And this is the guy. So that is where we're at. To give a little bit of idea of how I'm gonna manage doing this whole thing, I wanted to get all this piping done first, get all the piping built that I needed to do cutting on the body, that I needed to do cutting on the piping and get everything fit, the motor mounts done, all that stuff mocked up. By the way, if you look, this engine is quite a bit further forward than what most people would do. There's a couple reasons I'm doing that. First is these cars and my other car that I had have a propensity to wheelie. So I feel like instead of having to add weight to the front like I had to do to my other car, I will just move the engine forward and have, you know, whatever I need to have up on top of here. If I can put the radiator front, fine. If it has to go to the back, fine. However the weight distribution comes out on this thing, once I start adding the battery, the fuel cell, and the radiator. That might all end up in the front. We'll see. The transmission, I just had to build a new bracket. I used an aftermarket transmission cross member for a Powerglide Turbo 350. This is just a mock-up in there now, but that's where it's going to be. And so the stages that I'm going to approach this in are as follows. I'm going to get everything the piping done, coated. That's the next step, is to take this part, get all this sandblasted, coat it. Then I'm gonna work on getting under the hood here, at least from the strut towers back. I wanna fill all the holes, and then we'll come in and paint this. I'm not sure exactly the color I'm gonna go with yet. Maybe just black. The car is just solid black, but I kinda think I might wanna do something else. From that point, then I will be able to put the final motor, final transmission, final everything in the front for that first stage of this. And then move on to the interior, get the wiring done, all the wiring done, get the fiberglass dash mounted up. I'm gonna use the early dash. I kinda like how it has the wide area across the front for the dash cluster, although I'll probably be just using like a race pack style logger. But I do like that it has that wide open big flat area, so if I want to put, say, a 12-inch little display on there, I could do that. I may do that. Seat is mounted. Not really a lot more to do other than just take all the insulation out, clean it up, and then we're gonna have to add some bars to this at some point. Probably get it down the track a few times and then I'll add the bars. But that's what we're gonna do as far as that goes. Just get the intercooler mounted up in here. I've just gotta make some tabs off the roll cage and then some tabs off of the back to hold it. Once I get all the piping done exactly where it's at, then I'm gonna mount the intercooler exactly where it needs to be. I know it might shift a little bit, and I'm gonna have a couple of rubber couplers on there, silicone couplers on there, so that way I can move it around a little bit. But I think that's where we're gonna be. But so the goal is, at this point, here, I'll flip you around. The goal is, at this point, is to, what we're gonna do is get this thing ready, get it down the track.